Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming. I have been so excited ever since Angela and I started discussing today. I have been so anxious to learn and hear from her. I'll go ahead and kick it off and just give a little bit of an introduction. Today we're going to talk about future-proofing your career and how women can thrive in the job market in 2026 and beyond. So a little bit about Angela. This is her bio, just a brief bio. I'm sure it goes so much deeper than this. But Angela Ashurst is a career accelerator. She's the founder of Upword Resume, a premier resume writing service, and co-founder of the Cheetah Collective, a business setup and support program to take your business idea from idea to income. Angela has helped thousands of clients, from blue-collar workers to Fortune 50 execs, to land their next role with clarity and confidence. Angela is a natural-born advocate who believes in blue sky thinking and the power of yes, you can. I love that. Her work centers on helping people take bold next steps, whether that means landing a job, launching a business, or finding the courage to dream bigger. She has six adult and teen children and lives in Mapleton, Utah. And I just want to add to that, I have experienced the greatness of Angela firsthand myself through both of her endeavors. I utilized Angela through Upward Resume earlier. Oh man, that was a handful of years ago in my career, and it has been wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. It really helped me get to where I am today. It really helped me reimagine how to speak to my accomplishments, what I've done, and it was a great experience working with Upward. I loved it so much. And the experience through the Cheetah Collective obviously has been wonderful too. But Angela, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
And thanks for that introduction. I know it's fun that you and I have worked together in kind of all these different capacities.
Yes, I totally agree. So I'd love to kick it off with a question. So can you just dig into your experience a little bit for us? What really led you into building Upward Resume?
So I'm kind of an accidental business owner. I was a freelance writer and editor for corporate and academic organizations for a long time, and sort of fell into a freelance job as a resume writer. And that was a really good fit for me. I am kind of a natural born advocate. I love figuring out what makes you awesome and then reflecting it back to you. And also, it was just really flexible, these kind of discrete projects. So it was a really good fit for me while I was having kids. So I did it freelance for a while. I decided I could do better work if I broke out on my own. I didn't know anything about running a business and kind of figured it out as I went along. And yeah, it's been a great fit for my life. As my kids got older, I was able to spend a little time to grow it up and make it a little bit bigger. And then this year, I co-launched the Cheetah Collective. So now we help other people build businesses and grow businesses. We just signed a client that has like 7 figures of revenue, and we're doing some marketing things to help them grow. So kind of wherever you are in your career, if you're on the corporate side or the entrepreneurial side, I'm here to help accelerate your career.
That's amazing. And we're going to talk a little bit that the topic that we're talking about today has guided you into creating a whole course that you're going to be launching, or you've already launched. Can you help us understand what guided you to build this course that helps guide women throughout their career in 2026?
Yeah, so just this month, I launched Career Navigator 2026. And, you know, I talk to people searching for jobs every day. I talk to recruiters and career coaches all the time. And of course, job searching is a frustrating process. Nobody loves it. It's not fun. It's a time suck. It triggers like every insecurity you can think of. But this year, it was beyond annoying and frustrating. I just heard my clients feeling a lot of just cynicism and sort of hopelessness. It's not working. The system is broken. I don't know what to do anymore. Things that used to work are not working. And so I thought I want to dig in, like for my own expertise and knowledge, to understand what is going on in this job market and be able to give a little bit better advice to my clients. So Career Navigator 2026 is 5 recorded sessions with me and career insiders, a recruiter, a couple coaches, a serial job seeker, and they have been so insightful and really, I mean, I kind of knew this, but just really underscored to me how much the whole landscape of job search and employment and the employee-employer relationship has been reformulated kind of as a result of COVID, kind of flowing out from those changes. So just really fundamental changes. And it helped me get to a place of, okay, if we understand that things are different than they used to be, that's freeing in a way, because then you can just focus on, okay, and so now how do I thrive in this new landscape?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I'm excited to learn more. So that's a great segue into a next question that I have. So what signs what did you learn then, or what signs did you see that helped you understand that 2026, that the landscape is so different than what it was even 5 years ago?
So one of the things that I did was kind of go back and pull up some of the numbers and statistics, like what has actually happened since 2020. So we know March 2020, hiring just froze almost overnight, huge numbers of layoffs. Anyone who had a job sort of hunkered down and stayed in that job. So less churn, which leads to less job openings. So just almost total freeze of the job market. And then, of course, everybody possible, most everybody in any kind of white collar job went remote. So now all of a sudden, all of these assumptions about what work looks like have been completely changed. We are Zooming from our kitchen tables or from a desk in the corner of our bedroom. We're seeing people's kitchens and bedrooms and kids and pets. So our sentiments about work, our feelings about work as something separate from home sort of broke down a little bit. So then 2021, 2022, COVID restrictions start loosening, and then there's this huge surge of hiring. There's all this pent up demand. Companies are hiring like crazy. Everybody who's wanted to switch jobs but haven't been because the job market is so bad, now they want to jump in. And also those sentiment shifts, how we feel about work has changed. So lots of people are kind of reimagining and wanting to do career pivots. So this is kind of like a reinforcing loop. There's more openings, so more people feel like they can try something new. So then there's more churn. People are leaving jobs, getting new jobs. And it was just feeding this sort of hiring frenzy that was going on. That pendulum has swung back, of course. This year, the job market is tight, and it was last year as well. I mean, 2025, we had huge federal layoffs, which then are going to ripple across the job market and into other sectors, creating, more demand for job openings. The tariffs, the government shutdown, just creating all of this sort of uncertainty, which causes companies to be conservative, risk averse, a little less likely to start something new and do big hiring. So the job market is really tight, but those sentiment shifts have still remained where, whoops, what's happening? All of my lights are turning off. Where workers are really valuing flexibility. They're not willing to just do the job and get the paycheck. They want flexibility. They want a little bit more sense of purpose. They want more reasonable work-life balance. They want a little more autonomy in how they show up at work. So those things where the seeds were kind of set in COVID, when we're suddenly working from home, and in 2021, 2022, when, hiring is going like wildfire, those sentiments are still there. And Tanya, the craziest thing, not on my bingo card for this year, was all of the numbers about hundreds of thousands of women just exiting the workforce in 2025. The last number I saw in October was like 500,000 women that have just left the workforce. And I think that is that sort of clash of what we want from employment, which is more than salary, and the reality of inflexible workplaces, increasing return to work mandates this year. The sort of corporate structure never was built for women, but apparently in 2025, hundreds of thousands of women were just like, I'm out. I'm not trying to make this work anymore. Okay, that was a long answer.
I think the thing that's most interesting for me on that point is that we know what's possible now because of COVID. We know how possible it is for women to be not catered to. I don't think we're asking to be catered to, but I think we're just saying like, look, it is possible for me to have a career and be successful and also be successful at home if XYZ is in place. And it has been in place before, but now you're changing your mind saying that it's not going to work for you, when then the reality is that it did work for you. And so I think it's like that statistic is so sad, I think, because the workforce needs women. I need more women to work with. We need each other. And so that is such an interesting thing. It's like a phenomenon that's happening.
Yeah, 100%. I think all the time, there's some research done by BYU about women's voices being heard in decision-making settings. And, I'm not going to remember the exact numbers, but it's something like if there's one woman in a decision-making room, she's not going to feel she can speak up. And when she does, her voice is not going to be heard. And there needs to be sort of there needs to be kind of a critical mass of, maybe 3 out of the 7 people at the table are women. And when there is that critical mass, then women's voices get heard, they get raised, and then the decisions that the group makes are better decisions. Everybody is happier with the decisions that were made when there's that diversity of perspective. So I just think if all of these women are leaving the workforce, we're losing that critical mass.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell me a little bit more. Like, what do you think, what outdated assumptions do women still rely on that you feel like really hold them back?
I mean, I think everyone is relying on a few outdated assumptions that if I show up, if I do my job, I'm going to keep my job and I can rely on my job. My employer is going to take care of me. That's just not really the case. And I don't mean that as like villainizing employers, but it's a economic relationship. Layoffs are built into the economy, the software development life cycle, the value creation objectives that publicly held companies have. It's just the reality. And so the assumption that my employer will take care of me, I will have long-term stable employment, not always the case. I think for women in particular, a lot of the assumptions that women have about the workplace are in fact true, that women are less likely to be heard, less likely to be promoted. Their point of view is given less credence than, all else being equal if it was coming from a man. All of those things actually are true. So I always want to avoid sort of judging women for reacting to the reality of the imbalanced systems that we live in. The real question is, how do we counter that? I follow a couple people online who put out sort of canned phrases or responses that you can use when you are interrupted or denigrated, or your idea, somebody else is taking credit for your idea. I think having those in your pocket is so smart for women. I think it's important for women to apply for stretch jobs and apply for raises, seek out raises and promotions. The research is pretty clear that women are less likely to do that, and that kind of sells us short, undercuts us. You know, the really famous statistic that a woman will apply for a job when she meets 80% of the qualifications, and a man will apply for a job when he meets 60% of the qualifications. So, you know, women need to kind of keep pushing ourselves to strive upwards and go for those stretch assignments. But another way of looking at it is, if the career landscape has really changed and we need to start using a new career playbook, then women have an opportunity to be early adopters of the new playbook and thrive in this new world of work that we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And in your experience with Upward Resume, are these things that you've noticed with your female clients that you've worked with over time? Like, have you noticed that it's trickier to get them to speak to their accomplishments? Is it trickier to ask? Are the jobs that they are letting you know that they're going to be applying for, are those jobs not really stretch jobs? Like, are those things that you've also recognized in your work at Upward Resume?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that my client base is still a pretty strong majority men. So women are probably coming to me less. And that may be a sign of what you're saying, investing in their careers a little bit less, not really applying for those stretch assignments. I do think, again, everything about job search and career is so triggering of all of our insecurities and imposter syndrome. I'm in this networking group for PE operators, so executives of private equity backed companies. You know, these are primarily men in their 50s and 60s who have made millions, if not billions of dollars for all kinds of companies and brands that you know and use every day. And they are absolutely riddled with imposter syndrome. Like, they feel like, I'm looking at their resume, you have 20 years of experience being very successful, and yet they're still feeling like, and that was all a fluke, and now I'm never going to get my next job. So, you know, I see that coming from absolutely everyone. But the research clearly shows that it is even more of an issue for women. So I think, you know, my takeaway on that is that we need to constantly be checking ourselves. Am I holding back? Is there room for me to take a step forward? Can I own my accomplishments a little bit more clearly? And kind of to your point, Tanya, I do think that that is one of the sort of hidden benefits of working with a professional resume writer, is figuring out how to quantify those accomplishments and talk about them in a really sort of factual way. These are the facts of what I did. These are the facts of the benefits that it created for my employer. And having that kind of in your back pocket enables you to advocate for yourself a little bit better at work, because you've already put that into words. It's not bragging, it's just data. You've got it documented right here, put into words on your resume.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Okay, so tell me, when you started putting together the course, the Career Navigator course, what surprised you most? What patterns maybe surprised you most?
I think probably the number one was just that the contract between employee and employer has totally shifted. You know, the employer used to think, we're going to pay you a salary, you're going to be happy, you'll stay here and work for us. And In fact, employees need more. They need some autonomy, purpose, flexibility, progression, all of those things. And then the employee used to think, I will show up, I will do my job, and then I will keep my job, and I will keep getting promoted and getting raises, and it'll just kind of flow right along. And that's just not the case. Most professionals are changing jobs like every 3 to 5 years. 5 years in one company is a really long time now. So that just fundamental, I feel like I don't think the contract between employee and employer has been redefined so fundamentally since maybe the 50s or even the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And, this 8-hour workday, that comes from the Industrial Revolution. I'm not going to be able to remember exactly how it goes. It's like 8 hours to work, 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours for what you will. The world was so different at that time, and yet we're still kind of committed to this 8-hour workday, which of course is completely incompatible with families. I mean, 9 to 5 workday, 8 to 3 school day. There's some inherent problems there.
Yeah.
So that's one. And I think the other big surprise for me was the real importance of human connection. The whole hiring process is so influenced by AI. You're using AI to write a resume for a job description that was also written by AI, and then your resume is going to get reviewed by some AI tool. And yet, human connection, because if AI is kind of running the show, then human connection becomes the thing that is your differentiator that can help set you apart. And also the just essential component of networking. Networking has always been smart for job seekers, but now networking is even more essential in terms of finding roles, standing out for roles. So curiosity, connection, relationship, those came up again and again, I think in every one of the Career Navigator sessions. And that was kind of a surprise for me. I thought we were going to be learning about more how to leverage technology, and you do need to do that. But that curiosity, connection, relationship, networking is so essential right now.
Yeah, I think the way that AI has impacted the recruiting world, the job seeking world alone is, it's like so big I don't even understand it quite yet. I
Yep.
had a job opening. I was growing my team at the company that I work with, and they posted a job rec on LinkedIn, and within a day we had over 500 applicants. Like, that is crazy. How do you find the best person sifting through 500 applicants? And I think that just speaks a lot to AI. I think it also speaks to the job market right now is so crazy. And even if you go on LinkedIn and you pull up, the top 50 jobs or most recent jobs that have been posted, you'll see that a lot. Over 100 people have applied. And you just know that as you apply, you just continue to get lost in the chaos of all the other applicants. It's hard to stand out.
Yeah. And so knowing that, you can imagine why HR teams are then going to get some kind of software that's going to help them organize and filter, because who can go through 500 applications? So it's kind of feeding itself. And, I have heard internal recruiters complain, we're getting all of these resumes, they're kind of a word salad. Clearly the person used AI to basically regurgitate the job description into the resume. Well, of course people are doing that because they're using a tool that's evaluating how well the job description and the resume match. And, that's kind of a evil cycle. So yeah, the way to differentiate, I think two things. You can create a resume that is going to work for an AI filter, have all of the keywords, and also have value propositions that are going to resonate for the human who then picks up your resume so that you can stand out. It's kind of a heavy lift in terms of making a resume that's addressing all the different audiences at each phase of the hiring funnel. But it is possible to do that. And then also having that network where you've already connected with someone at that company. You've had enough informational interviews that you really understand the role and what they're looking for, kind of able to read between the lines on the job description, where you've got an ally who can facilitate an introduction for you, or where you've just laid the groundwork at this company because
We're back.
glitch for a minute there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There we go. Yep, you're good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I am sure we caught most of that, Angela. Sorry, I don't know what the glitch was all about, but I want to dig more into the human connection side, because in a world that is going more and more towards AI, I think we're all wondering, like, what has happened to human connection? How important is it in a world that's turning more and more digital? And so in the hiring world, how would you say human connection, how valuable is it
Yeah.
really?
I think in this job market, one of the most important things you can do is be cultivating your network all the time, not just when you're in role transition. So that looks like keeping touch points with your existing connections, setting aside some time to make comments on LinkedIn posts, engage with people on LinkedIn, creating a list of target companies that you would like to work for, following them on LinkedIn, responding to them, connecting with people in your role, similar roles, one step up from you, and just sort of keeping those connections all the time. Asking for informational interviews, having coffee or lunch or a quick Zoom chat with people. All of those are really, really, really important. A lot of job positions don't get posted on an online board. My recommendation is to kind of do all of the above. You're applying for posts online. You are making contacts with companies, letting them know what you're looking for. You are keeping connections with your existing network. Kind of all of the above needs to be part of just your ongoing career hygiene. It's not something where you turn on job search for 6 weeks, you get your new job, you forget about all of that, go back to business as usual. You're sort of always in that cultivation mode and career hygiene mode of networking and connection.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get that. Totally makes sense. It's like an always on, like an evergreen
Yes.
campaign almost, right? For
Yep.
yourself.
Yeah.
So when it comes to networking, where do you feel like women are accidentally sabotaging their networking opportunities?
I actually just saw a really interesting article on this because, on the one hand, again, this is a chance for women to really shine. We, in general, are great at networking. We love connection, we love relationship, we love keeping in touch with people. But what this article was pointing out is that women tend to network on a lateral level as opposed to networking up. So it's great to connect with people at your same level. That's going to give you camaraderie, support, feedback, really important. But then what you also need to do a little bit more strategically is identify people at the role you would like to be next. So one, maybe even 2 steps up, making connections with them. Again, asking, can you set up a coffee chat, informational interview, responding to anything that they do on LinkedIn, reposting, commenting, etc. So one important thing for women is making sure that you're networking a step up.
Yeah, I love that. Almost like a skip level in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. So, I think sometimes as women, we maybe overcomplicate networking. Like the word itself sounds maybe scary or like it's really high effort when it's something that we naturally do anyway. So, do you have any advice on what women can do, one simple thing women can do every week to help with their networking?
I think one of the easiest ways to do that, and I feel the same way, like connecting comes naturally to me, networking does not. One really easy way to do that is set a time of the week, maybe Friday, set a calendar, block out half an hour, even 20 minutes, and use that to get on LinkedIn, um, post a little thought leadership, your hot take in regards to your industry, what you're noticing in regards to your industry, your hot take on best practices, problem solving, thoughts on if there's been like some change or big acquisition or new rollout or something like that in your industry that you can comment on. That's fantastic. Comment on some other people, making sure some of those are separate above you. Um, Comment on posts from your target company. Just spend a little time being active on LinkedIn, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes. That's kind of like that drip campaign, that evergreen drip campaign that's going to keep you top of mind with people in your network. That's going to train LinkedIn to see you as someone who is engaged and is a thought leader. And then, of course, when someone comes upon you, they check you out, they see this history of thought leadership and contribution. So having that kind of once a week appointment with networking is just a really easy way to do that.
Yeah, it's a great way to stand out, definitely.
Mhm.
Especially with all the algorithms that LinkedIn has going right now. I think that's great, Angela. Great advice. Thank you. So, talking about standing out, what else do you think makes a candidate stand out in 2026?
I think what companies are always looking for is someone who is going to add value, solve problems, contribute to the bottom line. Um, and I'm not sure if I cut out before this point. That's where your resume comes in, where it's addressing audiences at each point in the hiring funnel. So yes, it has the keywords for ATS and AI. Yes, it explains in simple language how you match the role for like maybe an entry level talent acquisition person. And it has value propositions. So once your resume reaches the decision maker, the hiring manager, the person that you're actually working with, they're reading it and thinking, oh my gosh, this person is, my wish list of what I want to happen, whether that's adding new clients, improving retention, building new teams, launching new products, whatever that may look like for you. So always you are going to stand out by having a clear ability to state your value proposition, what you deliver. And that's also going to differentiate you. Um, if there's dozens or maybe hundreds of chat GPT resumes and yours has this value proposition, I accelerate sales teams' effectiveness and boost sales volume by 20% a year. That's going to help you stand out. At the end of the hiring funnel, they've got it kind of narrowed down to you and maybe three other people with really similar qualifications to you. The more you are emphasizing those bottom line business results, value, accomplishments, the more you are going to stand out. And those are also going to start to reveal your style of work. So, let's say you're applying for project management roles. Are you a project manager that's super technology driven, data driven? You're going to turn everything into a KPI. Are you a project manager that's really good about creating buy-in and alignment across all functional teams. When you start to capture some of that in your resume, then they're able to hire based on who's a better fit. You're not going to get hired for a super data focused project management role if you really are more a relationship driven project manager. So it's going to help you differentiate because it's showing what your secret sauce is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think too, one thing that will help you stand out is being really prepared for the interview and being prepared to make that connection. There's been
Right.
a handful of interviews where, I've gone in and interviewed a person and it was just so cold. Like the conversation was cold. It wasn't easy. It was like lots of follow-up questions to try and draw more and more out of them. And
Yeah.
so like the human connection side, once you do get an interview, the human connection side is really important.
Yeah. Yeah, and that has to do with leading with a lot of curiosity. So it's your job to talk about yourself in the interview, but also it's your job to make that connection and to learn more about the role. How can I solve problems for you, my interviewer? So being very curiosity forward. I think the word curiosity popped up a lot in Career Navigator 2026, and that one I definitely would not have predicted as, a real key to career success.
Yeah. So, okay, I love this next question, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. What is one resume myth you'd love for women to stop believing?
I mean, definitely that it's bragging. It's not bragging, it's data, it's facts about what you can do. Um, I think the other one resume myth that just I cannot kill, keeps popping back up is that your resume should be one page. If you are an established professional, you would leave so much relevant data on the table with a one-page resume. You almost always are going to need 2 pages. And then for everybody, metrics, numbers, quantifications are just gold on your resume. They pop on the page. They're so compelling. You probably don't have exact numbers, especially from, your job 5 years ago, but you can, in lots of cases, come up with, well, I would feel really comfortable saying, it was 15% better or faster or whatever, and put that ballpark estimate on your resume.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when it comes to resume writing, it's hard to really quantify the things that you have done if you haven't kept track along the way. And
That's
that
right.
really is exactly what our career trackers at Rise Higher that we've created and rolled out and have as an option to our users or our members here at Rise Higher is those career trackers so that when it comes time to build your resume, you know exactly what impact it made and you have the numbers, the percentages, the dollar amounts, the year over year growth, or whatever it is that you're trying to speak to. Because, when you get into an interview and you have to speak to those numbers, they really can't just always be hypothetical because people will ask follow-up questions. And if the numbers aren't really adding up, they're going to be like, I don't
Yeah.
know that you actually did that.
Yeah. Tanya, that is such a huge value that you provide because I think, in addition to the little LinkedIn moment on Friday or whatever, um, probably doesn't have to be weekly, could be a monthly check-in with a tracker. Like you're mentioning projects I completed, wins I had, writing down some of those numbers, capturing some of the data. That is so important. You're going to use that when you're writing your resume. You're going to use that at performance reviews. You are going to use that on your LinkedIn profile. You're going to use that if layoffs are imminent in your company and you want to kind of show why you are delivering value. So that is another one of the very most important career hygiene practices. And I would say the other one is also reporting up to your manager with a weekly quick capture, whether that's a little Slack message or an email or whatever form it takes, taking some of the most high level items that you've completed that week and just letting them know so that they're aware of the progress that you're making, any roadblocks or things that you need from them to be successful. So reporting up, capturing the data for yourself, cultivating your network. If those are just built into your normal work routine, that is really going to set you apart.
Yes, absolutely. I love using our HiER career trackers in your annual reviews. Can you imagine if you just hoped and prayed that when you went to your annual review that your boss remembered every great thing that you accomplished, but they also have to remember that for maybe 10 other people as well, you know? And so then they're just kind of basing it off of a feeling like, how do I feel this year went? It went okay, you know, like let's not leave your opportunity for growth based off of feeling. Let's put the facts out there exactly as they are, you know.
Yes. That's exactly right.
Very cool.
Another trick that I think is really helpful for performance reviews and also for interviewing. I think as women, as we've talked about, sometimes it's hard to express our accomplishments. Stay factual, not undercut ourselves, not use the word just, not waffle. So one really great way to do that is to use ChatGPT. You know, click on the little microphone so that you're saying it verbally, and then ask it for feedback. Was this direct? Did I ramble? You know, what's the impression that you get from listening to this? How long was that? You know, sometimes we think we're giving a 90-second answer, but actually it was a 4-minute answer. That's a great way to just practice putting it into words, getting over that hump of feeling cringy about talking about your accomplishments.
I love that. Using AI for feedback. Who knew? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So a question that I have, Angela, moving on just a little bit, is how can someone create options for their career without seeming disloyal?
I mean, really, I think employer loyalty is one of those outdated concepts. And when a company is asking for loyalty, that's almost a little disingenuous. When they get bought out, when they shut down one product because they're going to focus on another one, they will 100% lay you off when the economic situation calls for it. And again, that's not to villainize them. They are a business making money. That's the name of the game. That's the rules of engagement. So loyalty does not go both ways. And so it's really disingenuous for an employer to expect loyalty. I think that always networking, always informally interviewing, always being resume ready, those are absolute essentials. And they're not necessarily a sign of disloyalty. One of the ways to kind of sidestep that is if you are always networking, if you always have your LinkedIn profile updated, it's not going to really raise red flags for someone when you do that. You know, sometimes I talk with someone who's like, I have not updated my LinkedIn profile in 5 years. If I do it now, that's going to tip off my employer that I might be looking. The real problem there is that you haven't updated it in 5 years. If you're always updating it, then doing it now is not going to stand out. But, you know, really loyalty doesn't exist. And it's not fair for the employee to kind of be carrying this burden of fake loyalty in a way that is going to prevent them from doing what they need to do to keep their career moving forward.
I just would love to chat through LinkedIn really quick because I talked to I've had a handful of conversations with women who are looking for a job, or they're just looking to get back into the workforce, or they just, you know, are looking to grow their career in some way. And when I always bring up LinkedIn, they're like, why is it real? Do I really have to get a LinkedIn? Like, why is that important? It just seems so silly to have like a, in their mind, like a social media for my job. Like, so help us understand LinkedIn and why is it really that important?
It's essential. It used to be kind of like a, yeah, if you want to. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, a prospective employer is going to see that as a red flag. What's going on with this person? Why can I not vet them? It doesn't reflect well on you and your engagement in your career. LinkedIn's SEO is amazing. If someone Googles your name, LinkedIn is likely to be one of the first, if not the first, search result. So it's just an opportunity for you to be self-defining, controlling the narrative, those accomplishments, those value propositions that you want the prospective employer to know. You get to tell them right there on your LinkedIn profile. Even if you have applied for a job through some other avenue, directly through the company's website or whatever, at some point in the hiring process, people are going to pull up your LinkedIn profile just as part of the vetting process. So again, that's an opportunity for you to control the narrative, say what you want to say, show your value. And then, of course, in this world where we are learning that networking and connection are essential differentiators so that you don't just get lost in the cloud of AI job descriptions and resumes, LinkedIn is your best place to do that. You can find colleagues, friends of colleagues, people in your same role at target companies. One of the really interesting statistics I saw this year is that your looser connections, your more distant connections, are actually more impactful on helping you land your next job than your really close connections. So the sister of your college roommate is more likely to help you find your next job than your brother-in-law. I don't know why that is. I feel like that says something not positive about the world. But these kind of loose, distant connections, former colleagues, former vendors, where else are you going to keep cultivating that connection other than LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's almost like references at some point were really big.
Right.
Asking people if you can call them references. LinkedIn's almost taking that spot, would you say?
Yeah. 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 I think in every sales process, they're going to check you out on LinkedIn for sure.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Who knew when that started it would be such an
I
impactful
know.
part of our careers? It's
Yep.
so interesting, but I do agree. I think it is a great area to be a thought leader in your industry, and even if you own your own business, you have an industry that you're part of, and even opportunities to grow within your industry. And being the thought leader, people are going to look to you for that. That's very cool.
Keeping track of trends, what are people saying, what are the new things happening in your industry.
Yes, LinkedIn is very informative for all those things for me too. Okay, well, I know we have about 8 minutes left. I wanted to just open it up to the group really quick and see if anyone had any questions for Angela.
I have a couple things that I kind of have had notes on, Angela. So inspiring. Love your advice. I am a small business owner, and so I don't see my career path changing. And so I've never really kept my resume up to date because I felt like I knew I wasn't changing career paths. But I recently this year jumped on, got the career tracker, kind of highlighted my top things that I've done recently. And it was so helpful because I recently had an opportunity to advance what I'm doing with my boss, my senior leader, my sales leader. And it was so nice to have that stuff documented. And I never have done that for myself. So I appreciate that, Tanya, for you guys creating that. My second thing is, as a female business owner, I employ 8, 9 females. Um, I've always hired more females in my agency. I take pride in that I allow flexibility in their lifestyles and know as a mom of four myself what it takes. And so I've always offered that family comes first, take care of the kids, take care of the household. But at the same time, I also have resentment because I am so flexible that when they don't show up for me when I need them, I'm really struggling with like finding that balance. I want to be accommodating. I want to employ women. They've made me who I am today, but then I also harbor just like, go, you wouldn't be able to get away with that anywhere else. You wouldn't be able to get away with that at corporate America. They would never allow this much time off. They would never allow you to come and go as you please. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with that, other than I don't know how to address that as a boss.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a good question. What can I ask just briefly, what kind of a business is it?
insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a team of about nine-ish contract writers for several years. And a client company that I have now through the Cheetah Collective that we're just onboarding is in a really similar situation, has hired, I think, exclusively moms in part-time roles. And I think there is a little bit of a balance of offering that respectability, flexibility, respect, and autonomy. And really, flexibility and autonomy are a form of respect that we give to our contractors or employees. And also holding some lines of professionalism and responsiveness. So where my mind goes in with that question is SOPs, standard operating procedures. Maybe as someone is doing their job, have them write up and document what they're doing. And then based on those SOPs, you can kind of establish, here are the lines. So for example, for me, I would send one of my writers a resume client. And you can do it whenever you want, however you want. However, the client has to hear from you within the first 24 hours. The client needs a draft or at least an update within 2 hours after their phone call. Some of those sort of guideposts or stage gates that you have full flexibility within these guideposts. And these other pieces are not negotiable, or at the very least, you need to check in with me if you're not going to meet some of these standards. I think SOPs are so important, especially for small business owners. At one point in my business, I thought if I got in a car crash, my whole business would grind to a halt. Nobody could do anything if I wasn't there. And the first time I hired an assistant, a VA, I had her document everything as she did it. So now if she and I both got in a car crash, somebody could pull up that document and still know this is how we invoice for this. This is what we do when a new client comes on. So that gives some accountability to your team. And it also is really a risk measure as a new business owner, where you can't have absolutely everything in your own brain and nowhere else. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great question, Kelly. Okay. No other questions. Okay, well, Angela, we have a question that is always asked at the end of every webinar that I love so much. What is your greatest advice for the next generation of women in the workplace?
That is such a great question. I love that you ask that. And here is my feeling about that. The best thing that women can do for the world, for themselves, for their families, for the workplace, is to show up as their whole selves in every place that they go. So the compassion and relationship and sense of play that you have at home, you bring that to work. You don't separate those two functions. And what you do at work, you bring that home. You let your family know what you're doing. You don't hold back from talking with your kids or your partner or whatever about what's going on at work. You expect your family to adjust and support your work just like you adjust and support them. I think in the past, women have felt that they need to show up at work with more kind of masculine ways of behaving and self-presenting and communicating. And the more we can show up as our full selves and shift that narrative, talk the way women talk with men and women at work, to Callie's point, maintaining professionalism and boundaries and deliverables and all of those things while still showing up as your whole self, I feel like that is just so valuable. We did a really funny social media post for the Cheetah Collective about things that are totally normal in our business. You know, crying, telling your coworker, I love you. And again, that can go too far. We also show up, we get stuff done, we meet our obligations. But I think women showing up as their full, whole, authentic selves, and that's hard to do. We are so conditioned to be pleasers, to respond to the needs of others, to sort of shape ourselves to the needs and comfort of others. And the more we can connect to our authentic, powerful, whole selves and show up that same way at the PTA meeting, the board meeting, the family reunion, that's my dream.
I love that. I love that advice. Thank you, Angela. It's almost like setting a new expectation of what to expect from women in the workplace, you know, and
Yes.
having feelings in the boardroom is actually okay, because men also bring a lot of feelings to their job as well. The feelings just come out very differently than they do for women. You know, women and men both care deeply about their role and the people that they work with, but the way that it comes out or is showed comes out in different emotions or in different ways, and that doesn't make them wrong, but just different.
Yeah, I mean, we're comfortable with the man, you know, maybe hitting his fist on the table during a meeting. When women show up as our whole selves, hopefully that sort of just loosens up some of these gender expectations, where a man can say, I just feel pretty sad about this layoff that's coming up, and I really wish we could find another solution. You know, we want to show up with our strong side and our soft side, and we want men to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, I love that. Very cool. Well, Angela, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
I would love to share more with everyone here at Rise HiER about your, say it one more time.
Career Navigator.
Career Navigator
Yeah.
course that you have. I'd love to share more about that. So definitely send the link my way, and I'll make sure that everyone here gets it sent out to them. But it's so insightful and so wonderful to learn more about what to expect next year and how we can better show up for our careers. So Angela, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining.
You, Tanya, thank you for all the work that you're doing. I love this community that you're building. You are also smart for being here in Tanya's community. So thank you for having me.
Yes. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Tanya.